All right, y'all, we got a big one today. Yesterday was day 15 of the P Diddy trial, and some crazy shit happened at the trial. This lady called the MTA lady, I guess he works either selling tokens or cleaning up or something, but she burst out in the courtroom, and Eddie Garcia said some crazy stuff that'll take Diddy down with this bribery, $100,000 payoff for that Casey video. Let's get into it. Let's look at this video and let's react to it together. This is something by Law and Crime Sidebar with Jesse Weber. The title of the video is P Diddy on Trial, Bribery, Bombshell, and Surveillance Secrets. Let's get into it.
What a day in the Sean Diddy Combs criminal trial. You know, I got a lot of questions about how is the prosecution proving racketeering conspiracy on top of the sex trafficking and prostitution charges. But how are they proving racketeering, right? That Combs agreed to run this criminal enterprise that engaged in a pattern of illegal activity, that there are all these underlying predicate crimes. The prosecution has to prove at least two. So there's forced labor, kidnapping, arson, sex trafficking, drug offenses, bribery. Well, that one is very important and very particular to today. Why? Because we heard from a former security officer at the Intercontinental Hotel out in LA. So this is the site of where Combs purportedly beat up Cassandra Ventura, victim number one in this case, back in 2016, an event that was captured on footage. And by the way, remember prosecutors say that she was leaving a freak off at that time, that this is evidence of sex trafficking, that Combs was using force to induce her into engage in these freak-offs. But we also heard from the former CFO of Combs Operations. Oh, and by the way, someone was banned from court and somebody else was kicked out of court for an outburst. So, for that and more, I want to bring on Elizabeth Milner, law and crimes reporter who has been with us every day of this trial. Elizabeth, so good to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time to come back here on Sidebar. So, let's start there. Someone was kicked out, apparently had an outburst, and somebody else has now been banned from the courtroom. And by the way, this was all in the morning before any testimony.
I knew about the lady that got kicked out, but I didn't know that someone got banned. Let's see if they mention who was the person that got banned, because I heard Gene Deal got banned because I heard reports that he knocked somebody out, but I really don't know who if there's somebody else that got banned. I heard about this lady, but I don't know who got banned. Let's see what Elizabeth Milner. By the way, I love how she brings to us that are not inside the courtroom the details of what's going on inside.
Testimony even began. What happened?
Yeah, a lot happened this morning, bright and early this morning. And to your point, Jesse, it happened before the jury was brought in, before the witness took the stand this morning. And a lot of us just kind of in the media, we've been kind of knowing about this person who we were all expecting to make some type of outburst. We were just kind of waiting on when this would actually occur. And so that was kind of the topic of discussion. So it wasn't that surprising that we saw this woman who we've been referring to as the MTA lady. We don't necessarily know if she works for MTA, but she kind of always wears this MTA jacket when she comes to court, and she's someone who stands in line with us in the morning. And so we've seen her. She isn't like as abrasive as maybe we were led to believe until we saw what had happened this morning. And so what had ended up happening is there were some arguments outside the presence of the jury. They were discussing Mia's testimony. And then all of a sudden I hear just kind of some screaming or yelling coming from behind me. And it was the exact same woman we all thought it was going to be. And so initially when court started, we thought that's when something might have happened, when Diddy was brought in, because it seems from our point of view that she might have been someone very much on the team defense side, team Diddy side. So we were thinking, oh, something might happen as soon as he's brought in. But no, we were in the middle of arguments. We were listening to what both sides were saying just regarding Mia's testimony. And then I look up from my notepad as I'm writing these notes, and she's just like facing the door, kind of looking like she's about to exit the courtroom. And then the marshals are coming kind of inward. And so it seemed like that there was going to be this big confrontation, but she's just yelling and screaming at the marshals pretty much. You heard curse words flying. You heard her pretty much say that, oh, you should pull out your gun or do this, do that, that type of thing. And then all of a sudden we saw the marshals kind of take her out of the courtroom. It took a couple of marshals to get her out of there, but she was yelling, she was screaming, she was saying things along the lines that this was the prosecution's fault. And so it was pretty disruptive this morning. And surprisingly, again, that this was something that had happened before. So not only was she kicked out of the courtroom today, but she was kicked out of the media overflow room during jury selection, from what I've heard. And so it seems like she's been disruptive, again, not once, but now twice. And it seems like
how the first time she got kicked out of the overflow, from then they should have banned her. Imagine the overflow. She was dying to be on the main room. And she said that she did this outburst when Diddy came out. I heard that Diddy looked at her like I appreciate the love, but, but shut the fuck up. You got some crazy fans, man.
As far as her wanting to get back inside this courtroom, she doesn't look like this will happen.
And Elizabeth, didn't she say they're all laughing at you to Diddy or something like that?
So I did hear that part whenever I was leaving the courthouse today. She was still kind of in this vicinity. She was still kind of doing, I guess, these interviews with these bloggers or vloggers, that type of thing. But yeah, she was kind of summing it up and saying that people were laughing at her.
Right.
I don't think that's necessarily the case as far as what had happened this morning, but it seemed like she felt like she was kind of the butt of everyone's joke.
Oh, see, I thought she was basically saying, she was saying to Diddy, they're all laughing at you out there, because again, she does seem like her comments from the reporting that she was pro Diddy, so interesting to say the least. By the way, before we get into the person who has been banned from the courtroom, we'll get to that. You mentioned the arguments. There were arguments that were happening right before the outburst. Didn't they have to do with what the prosecution wants to introduce into evidence now, which could be very, very interesting if that's the case?
Yeah, for sure. And it seemed like after Mia was done with her cross-examination, I felt like maybe, and these are just my words. I'm not necessarily sure this is how they felt, but it seemed like the government really kind of felt defeated in a sense. They were talking about her cross-examination, hers being Mia's cross-examination, and just how the defense was very abrasive with her, that Brian Steele was yelling at her and essentially yelling at a victim of sexual assault and sexual abuse. And so what the government was proposing is that they...
Brian Steele is getting paid for that. Remember, Diddy brought this man at the last minute because he heard what he did for Young Thug. So he's getting paid to do exactly what he's doing. And I'm pretty sure that Diddy is telling Mark, yo, let this man take over. Because in this cross-examination, he's the man right now.
Wanted to offer Diddy's jailhouse calls because they want to produce the excerpts as soon as this evening, and they feel like they're.
But let's make sure that it's real house calls, not those fake AI calls that they talked. I mean, that they had this last year. Last year, yeah. Get rid of the pizza box and all that crate, man. People be believing that too, man. People be liking that entertainment, that fake news shit.
Irrelevant, these jailhouse calls, because they corroborate Mia's testimony that she felt compelled to write those happy birthday messages throughout the years, saying happy birthday to Diddy, even when she no longer was under his employment, even after that she had parted ways with Revolt Films and with Diddy's companies. And so they had brought this up, not even surprisingly, they had brought this up previously during the pretrial hearings, where they were saying that Diddy, even from behind bars, was coordinating these specific kind of social media campaigns, whether it was to get his children to say happy birthday, capture it on video, then post it to his Instagram, just those types of things. And they were kind of bringing that back, where Again, they were making the argument that Mia felt compelled to do these happy birthday posts, and they want to bring on these jailhouse calls because they believe that Diddy uses his birthday to kind of shape the narratives, and they believe that these jailhouse calls are probative. And again, this is something that they've been talking about since the pre-trial hearings, where it seems like, again, even from behind bars, Diddy's kind of still directing things and kind of trying to, I think, reclaim his public image, that people love him, that people wish him well, that people, even on his birthday, even when he's locked up, will still wish him happy birthday and again wish him well as he's going through this criminal trial.
But I have a question. These calls that you know the prosecutors want to have the judge admit into evidence, did they actually mention Mia? Did he actually call Mia, or did he actually instruct somebody to tell Mia to say happy birthday on her Instagram account and things of that nature? I don't know, but if the judge admits it, you know, the prosecutors might have a little something there, because Diddy be shiesty sometimes, man.
Now,
I always wondered if his alleged activity from behind bars, including allegedly contacting people through improper means, was going to make its way into this trial. So it's possible it might. But now let's talk about the person who is officially...
Remember that they had a shakedown. Came out all in the media. Supposed shakedown for all federal institution. But they went in Diddy's cell, and they were claiming that they took some notes that supposedly he had on the legal docs. They already probably knew that Diddy was buying minutes from other inmates so he could make some phone calls from other inmates' accounts. So who knows, man, what he was saying. Them jail calls, they be recorded.